Hello, it's me, Annalisa, with my spiritual friend. I'm not sure if anyone will be here. I have one person on the list, and Jeep is their screen name. I just realized I forgot to email somebody back. Sorry, I'm late today. The next couple Sundays, I might be late like this. My daughter has some evaluations going. Hi, Radka. Has some evaluations, and they have to be on the weekends, so we don't miss so much school. So Sundays it will be. So, Jeep, if you want to go ahead and ask your question, because I know that you're several hours ahead, if you want to go ahead so we get started. But I apologize for the change in time. It'll just be, I think, next Sunday. Maybe she hasn't verified with me yet. So just keep an eye out. I'm going to also be posting a new blog post this week. So keep an eye out for that. A general for 2025. It's like a whole year long reading for $12. Come on now. All right. I immediately feel like the first quarter, lots of anxiety. And I honestly just feel like it's more, it might be more connected to like just generalized, not feeling settled. I don't feel like it's like anything terrible is happening or going on. It's just like feeling anxious around the first quarter. So the first 3 months of the year. Um, uh, it's not. So you might hear that, but like I've also heard that it's going to be great financially for a lot of people. So when there's generalized readings like that, like let's throw them to the wind because it doesn't have to really be that, right? So I feel like for me, my astrology chart looks fabulous going for the next 20 years. So I'll take it because the last 18 were garbage. Not totally garbage, but pretty rough. Let's look at, I mean, I had my kids, so that's pretty good, right? But there were some definite rough lessons learned. So first 3 months, it feels like lots of anxiety and uncertainty. And I feel like, honestly, that's just kind of more about like, I don't want to say like world events because it doesn't feel like that. It's just like a generalized thing, like just feeling that way. I know this isn't a way because this is like kind of sort of the second half, but it feels like by June, you feel like you're sort of settled. I genuinely believe that if you looked at your astrology chart and kind of what's going on in, with, I don't know who just purchased a reading, what's going on with like how the planets are transiting your natal chart would make sense. Are you an air sign? So I don't know all the air signs. Aquarius is one of them. Leo is another, I think. I don't know. I could be wrong. You're a Leo. Let me see if Leo is considered an air sign. That doesn't seem right, but let's see. Oh, it's Libra, Aquarius, and oh wait, it's not the air signs. It's what am I thinking of? Shit. There's mutable. I think that's the fixed signs is where it's going to affect. No, that's me. Sorry. Oh yeah, no, fixed signs. That's what I'm thinking of. And you're a fixed sign. So this is where it's going to affect you. Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. That's what I'm thinking of. So it feels like, and you may have also an air sign within your top three. So rising, moon, or sun. It's not your sun because you said you're Leo. Your rising or moon might be an air. But it feels like for whatever reason that transit into that, it feels like makes it feel like uncertain. By June, I feel like you're settled. And it feels like status quo. And that can also mean maybe you're just getting settled into your new job and things like that. And that's why you feel that way. I also feel like as far as love, I don't see any relationships in 2025 for you. It doesn't mean you're not dating, but I also don't feel like you're really putting yourself out there. I feel like 2025 for you is a lot about going within and really like sort of healing a lot of your deep stuff. I was thinking of the fixed, mutable, whatever. So you're a fixed sign. I just said it wrong. Sorry. I'm not a super astro girl. It's just like when they show it to me certain ways. Your son will come visit you, but like I feel like it'll be. I for sure feel around October, so I don't know if there's some kind of break or something that happens in October for y'all, like a holiday type period. Okay, so let's see who else. Rathka, what's your question? I also feel like you're focusing, sorry, I should say this cheap. I feel like you're focusing a lot on health next year too. I just see you in shorts and like I just keep being shown, oh, this is like weird. So I don't know if there's like running or some sort of more outdoor time, like because I keep seeing like running shorts and running shoes. I don't, they're not showing me that because you're asking me to look at a general overhaul of, you're like, give me a general reading. And now you're like, and this, and this, and this, and this. Like, that's not one question. So I can only give you what they give me. And I'm answering some of them, but that's kind of what I'm seeing you focusing on, what the themes are for you for the year. It's okay. You don't have to apologize, but me learning to set boundaries. Okay, I'm curious if there's anything that my guides want me to know. So, sort of a general reading, but from that angle, anything that my guide spirit want me to know right now. Hi, Allie. Good to see you. Hear from you. I got your payment. I feel like your stress is really bothering you because I feel really tight in my solar plexus chakra right now. Like I don't know if you have a history of ulcers, but it just feels like really tight and bound. Um, it's this feeling of there's an inability for you to see like the possibility of good things coming and happening. Um, and it doesn't mean they're not, it's just like being in this energetic field of, um, I don't want to say a little more negative, but like kind of like the glass is half empty sort of energy. Um, I have no idea what this means. So marbles. I don't know what that means, but I literally saw like a pile of marbles. Okay, Jeep. Um, I saw just a pile of marbles. So, I don't know what that means. I almost feel like, remember your friend who passed away? Remember the first time I ever did a reading for you? And I was like, it's a little bean, whatever. I don't know if this is a connection to her. Because I almost feel like I'm looking at a drawing where you have like, you're looking, it's like a perspective style drawing, right? And you're looking at the corner of maybe a room or on a shelf, but you really just see like there's the surface that something sits on in the corner, right? And then like a pile of marbles. But stacked up strategically. Um, so I don't know if that resonates at all. Oh, sorry. This is something I was curious about. Hang on. And I'll silence this so you don't hear all the dings. So just keep in mind, it might be something that will make sense and resonate later. But this is what it's reminding me of when I did that very first reading where I was like, I don't know what this means, but it'll make sense to you. Sorry, I thought I had a little, must be a shadow. But I think it'll make sense to you at a point. So it feels like a charcoal drawing, if that, just to be a little more specific. And it's on not white paper. It's on almost like a brownish grayish background paper. It's interesting that it's a perspective drawing. So I guess some things are perspective, right? Like some things are beautiful and some things are just a mess. Who knows? Yes. Shelf or in the corner. All I see is like, I don't have any. Hang on. I don't want to draw the back of that. Let me find, hang on. Let me find a pen. My kids leave stuff everywhere, so I don't know. Here's a pencil. Great. Okay. So it's not a great piece of paper because it's got lines on it and other stuff drawn on it. Hang on. Sorry. Be patient with me. I wish this didn't have lines on it because it would be a better drawing. So it's like this. And I know it's a corner. And now, of course, it looks more three-dimensional than this, and it has more whatever, but it's kind of like this is what I'm seeing. And the paper is like grayish, tannish, whatever. It's not white. That's what I was being shown. And it feels like it's marbles, but like maybe that's the name of it. I have no idea. Just turn this down. There. Okay. I'm going to say this word for word what they're saying because I don't really fully understand it. They said they're happy for you. Oh shit, what did you just say to me? They said this is them saying, we're happy for you to keep doing work and working hard and keep plugging away. But a big part of your lesson is for you to sit back and learn to wait and sit back and learn to go with the flow instead of always trying to force things to happen and make them happen. Healing comes with release and allowance. You'd be better to sit back and wait. It feels like you're trying to force the creativity, and they're kind of like, why don't you just sit and allow? So it's like when you're manifesting or when you're trying to come up with the ideas or trying to make things on it, they're like sort of like just say, okay, I'm ready whenever you're ready, kind of thing. Like just open up and allow for the information or the inspiration to come. So one thing I do like, or I've learned to do either with writing, like I'm going to, put out another blog this week. I meant to do it today. And then I got caught up doing other social media stuff and creating other stuff. But I learned to just go, oh, that's okay. Like, this is what needs to be heard. And like before I would do a talk for for this church service, a homily, if you want to call it that, I would sit down, like I would think that the month before I'd be like, oh, I totally want to, because I know way ahead of time that I'm going to be doing one. I would think, well, I'm going to write about this. Like, that's what I want to share with people. And then I would sit down the day of and it like never felt right. And I was like, okay, what am I supposed to share? What do people need to hear? And like something completely different would come out. So it's this idea, hi McKeegan, it's this idea of like just saying like, what do people need to receive? Where would I be of best service? And not asking me, but like learning to connect with your guides and your intuition doing that. Not to be like a cop out on my part, because like that's what I'm here for, but they're sort of wanting you to learn to trust your intuition more instead of like trying to logic yourself out of everything. This is what I'm supposed to do. This is how I'm supposed to do it. This is how things flow. This is what I was taught to do. Like, it just feels like more flowy. And it's for both. And I'm really leaning towards this actually being for work. But really you can apply it to anything, because it feels like this idea of like, this is how these kind of companies run. This is what people do. This is how you follow the pattern. And they're sort of like, just sit back and allow, because we're going to help you come up with something even better or even more, more magnetizing, like where it draws more people in without thinking that it has to be this way. And I think that those are normal feelings to have, of pressure and feeling it's quiet. But I feel like what you're supposed to do around work is like throw out there, or like when you're manifesting, right? Throw out there, show me all the ways that it would be more magnetic, or that I can be more magnetic with this job. Show me all the ways of how magnetic I am, because your brain is like a computer and needs input and directions of what to focus on. And so when we put the energy out there of like allowing for magnetism instead of being like, it has to be this way and it's not this way, so what's wrong with me, right? Then like all your brain is going to look for is all the ways that you're doing something wrong. And it doesn't do wonders for creativity, but you can just look at this, like you get to decide the meaning of. So if everything is like the law of assumption, right? So if whatever I assume to be is true, so like give it meaning, give it different meaning. Oh, this is just like, this is short for just a quiet period of time. And it's because they want me to sit down and really tap into my creativity. They want me to allow for things to come in at a rapid pace. So I need that time to really like have that time to focus on things coming in really rapidly and be prepared for the windfall of money that's coming. And it sounds dumb, but like really, like literally, if our beliefs create our reality, we get to tie any belief to it at all. And that shifts everything, shifts the perspective, everything. Like maybe the drawing I saw is like, it's just a pile of marbles, but like if you have a different perspective of it, then it's like, it comes together with more vibrancy and color and depth and dimension and richness, right? One perspective, it's just a charcoal drawing, and another, it's a full 4K video spinning from the top to the side or whatever, right? But one person thinks, I can only draw with charcoal. This is the only thing I can do. The other person is like, well, I can't draw with charcoal, but look at what I can do with a video. So it's sort of like going like, do you have to just do things with charcoal, or can you do it in another way? I mean, there's so many times where I'm like doing stuff and I'm like, oh my God, yeah, like that's such an easier thought process. Why did I allow myself to stick in that point for a while? So marbles stacked in a pyramid. I don't know. I don't know why they give me things the way they do, but they do. My giant. bottled water. So if you want to know how I get messages and I had a reading this week. I went to somebody to get a reading. And it was funny. It wasn't that she's not a good reader. She's a great reader, but it was also, I think, a lesson of me like learning that like I'm like kind of at this point where I'm not sure how many readings I really need anymore. And then I did a service on Tuesday night. This was before the reading actually, but I did a service on Tuesday night. I did there was a church service. I think like every 2 weeks there's a church service at the Spiritual Church of New York City in Manhattan. And I went in to do the message circle at the end. I tried to get there in time to do, hi G. I haven't been on live on TikTok in a while just because my Octobers are really busy for me. Just everything's been really, really busy. So I haven't had a lot of time during the week. But I'm going to try and find some time to do them there. I have not been very great on doing lives there. The summer is really hard for me to go live just because my kids are home and it's just a totally different schedule. And then September and October became very busy. Like my kids are like, you didn't take us apple picking. You didn't go to this. Like don't worry, I'm letting a lot of people down here. I'm just not having enough time. So I went to this service. I walked in. I was late because there was just a really insane amount of traffic. And then since I knew I was going to walk in late, and I was like, well, I'll just I wanted to go get cupcakes from this place because I used to live on the Turtle Bay area, like on 51st between 1st and 2nd. So there's a little cupcake place up there that I went to get cupcakes from for my daughters because they're really good. And then I walked over and went into the service, and I sat down, and they were still so during the service, they'll give a homily and they'll do a meditation, and then they do readings, platform readings, where they'll sit at the front and do readings. And so I walked and I sat in the back, and I felt Stephen, my mentor, there. And I was like, oh, just kind of talking to him. And I was like, well, so if you want to give me tips, why I'm stuck with weight loss or what's going on. And he was laughing, and we were just whatever. And because when you talk to dead people, it's kind of like having a regular conversation with somebody. And so then when it's on a personal thing, I'm not necessarily doing readings, but and I know his energy so well. So then I went and sat in the circle, and I sat next to there was Eugene was here, and then Janet, who's the president of the church, was over here. And I was like, it's really hot in here because they've turned the buildings, all the heat on in the buildings. And last week it was in the 80s. So the buildings were just ugh. And so I was like, oh, it's really hot. She's like, I'm not really hot, blah, blah, blah. She's like, and I said something to her. I was like, well, maybe it's my mom never seems to get really hot or anything. And she said, well, I wear a sweater all summer. And she goes, well, I did lose a lot of weight. And I was like, oh, how did you did you take something? I said, I thought you looked thinner, but you usually wear a sweater. So I thought, well, maybe I just misremembered. She's like, no, I've lost 50 pounds and all I did was drink water. And I was like, wait, what? And she goes, yeah, they wanted me to drink a gallon of water because she had some stuff going on. And then she said, well, I can't drink that much. I can only drink 5/8 of a gallon. So, which I thought was an interesting way to put it. So I was like, oh, okay, I guess that's my message. Thank you, Stephen. You don't always have to get it from somebody directly giving you a message, but the answers will come to you if you just put the energy out there. So that's my point to you, is just put the energy out there. Thank you for showing me how magnetic I can be. Thank you for showing how creative I can be and how many ideas I have and all of that stuff. So that's my ramble for you. And how easy it is to get messages for yourself if you just allow yourself to do that. And then if you're doubting, is that the message I'm supposed to get? So yes, I'm drinking lots of water, but so, and if you're doubting that's how you're supposed to get the message, then just say, can you clarify that for me? Because I'm not sure if that's the answer. Is that what you wanted me to hear? And if so, can you let me hear it again from somebody else or in some other way that will validate that for me? And the universe will provide. Okay. Allie, what's your question? You're very welcome. I've been asking for the time I've known about work, and the answers I get don't happen. Oh no. Okay, so here's what I want you to do, because we talked about this last time. So I'm going to make you ask a different question because we talked about this last time where I said, I can only see the possibility of what's going to happen. But then if in that interim you change your, like, where you're like, it's not going to happen for me, nothing ever works out for me, and that becomes your persistent belief system, then that's what happens. Right? So like then the persistent belief prevails of like, it never happens for me. It doesn't work out for me. Um, so I can only like, and let's like be really honest. I can be wrong. So what have you been doing working on belief systems and persisting? There's this guy I follow on TikTok. I can't remember his name, but he talks about manifesting. He's like, literally, it's just you doubling down constantly on what you want. It's like, no, it doesn't matter. Like when that doubt comes up, it's like, nope, doesn't matter. I've got the job. It doesn't matter what circumstances look like. It doesn't matter if somebody's more qualified. It doesn't matter. They freaking love me and I have the job. And I know that sounds really like it can't be that simple, but it literally can be that simple. And I still feel like there's a part of you that is still very like you want the better job, but then there's like the insecurity part, the like the self-concept work. And this is your solar plexus, is how you relate to the world, how I relate to the world, how the world relates to me, and your self-image. That's how I have to say it differently sometimes. Sorry. So I will tell you, I'm going to say this. So Meg came on here and she was like, I want to sell this house, blah, blah, blah. And so we had been talking on the like on the other side of this. And I was like, are you sure that you really want to sell this? Like, are you sure you're not doubting? And it was like, well, all these other people are selling, like my house has been up or my apartment's been up and like all these other people sold. And like, why is this happening for them? I'm like, because you're thinking that like there's still an underlying belief system of like it happens for everybody else and not for me. So I do know what you mean. But like I think that what happens is like there are still underlying belief systems of like it doesn't happen for you, even when you're like, I'm confident. It's like you literally have to just be like, anytime any little doubt comes up, anytime anything comes up, you have to be like, it happens for me, it's fine, it's done. Like I have a job. Like the fact of the matter is like you don't really need to worry about it because you currently have a job. So like putting any pressure on it of like, oh my God, if I don't get it, like what does it mean to you if you don't get a job? What does it mean if you do get the job? Like really start looking at it that way. Like what are the underlying meanings of that? Why are you putting that level on it? Because when I feel into the energy, there's fear there for me when I'm feeling this of like, um, fear that I get there and I'm not good enough, fear that I get there and I don't know what I'm doing, or they've hired me and they've been like duped, that kind of a thing, like, but I'm not really qualified. What's workers' compensation? He'll get it. I also feel like there's back pay due or something. So like I can't remember the companies that had lawsuits for this, but it was like they would make the workers be there like at a certain time, but then they weren't getting paid for those hours. They were only getting paid like for those minutes. They were only getting paid for like if their shift started at 6:45, they were still supposed to be there at 6:30 and they weren't getting paid for those minutes. And so like the company had to do back pay. I feel like he might actually be eligible for back pay. Okay. So when I say like, yes, it's there, it's possible to get this, I see this happening. And then everything after that moment, you're like, well, but what if I'm not really qualified for this? So the underlying energy there is like, I'm not qualified. It's not going to happen. So, like, why wouldn't you be qualified? Okay. I want to say this. There are so many people that are successful that are absolutely mediocre or less. And it's not because something is really lucky. It's because they don't doubt themselves for whatever reason. It is usually the really qualified people and knowledgeable people that doubt themselves. Like, look at George W. Bush, not to be political, but that man is not the brightest star in the sky. And he was president of the United States. Granted, there's connections and all of that crap to it, but still, like, look at Donald J. Trump. Not the smartest, not the brightest color in the crayon box, but he's. So you know what I mean? Like, that old saying, C's get degrees. It's kind of that idea of like, some hires aren't really necessarily about like qualification. They're about, we think your personality would really fit with our team and we can train you. And I feel like that's what you really need to look at it is like, I might not be, but my personality goes really well with them. And I'm motivated to learn and I'm motivated to be trained. Like, that's sometimes what people really need in a company, not like, because sometimes those people that are like, have the massive resume or whatever, they end up kind of not being great for the team. What do they call it? Mentality, whatever. Personality. It's not a good personality match. So like, I mean, I didn't know how to be a NICU nurse when I got hired to be in the NICU. I didn't know how to work. I mean, I kind of knew how to work babies, but not those teeny tiny flapjack babies. And I was like, they'll just train me. I felt like I was a good fit. I didn't know how to be like postpartum, antepartum, GYN surgical nurse. I learned. I mean, the basics of some stuff, but like really you get trained on the job. Okay, so like, but here's the other thing is like, people make mistakes all the time. I've hired people to work for me who have made mistakes. The only time I have a problem with somebody making mistakes is, are you taking accountability and ownership? Or are you acting like I did something wrong by pointing out your mistake? Because I don't like, I get people make errors, people make mistakes, but like, just take accountability, apologize for it, try not to let it happen again, like move on with your day and fix it. That's what you should do with mistakes. And I guarantee the majority of what people do for a living is not life-threatening. It is not gonna ruin anybody's lives. So like, it's okay. Maybe if you work with money and it's like, or when I worked in the hospital, I could fuck somebody up, right? So like, that was a possibility if I made an error with medication. But just saying, like, it's okay to have mistakes. And so then maybe work around that. Like, it's okay for me to not be perfect. Like, I'm still valuable even if I'm not perfect, because the truth is nobody's perfect. Like, literally nobody. Does not exist. And a lot of the people who pretend to be perfect and they look so perfect on like Instagram or in their like celebrity photos and stuff, they're just a fucking mess. They just have a whole team of people who makes them pretty for a minute. And you'll see a lot of that coming out where you see, like the lamb, like the stuff happening with like the Blake Lively stuff and her coming out and not, getting, it just turns out like maybe not the best reputation, maybe not the nicest to people in general. I don't know about, I've heard that she was polite, but it sounds like in many situations, maybe not so polite. So, and then all the P. Diddy stuff and all of those people, it's like they make their lives look fancy and beautiful and all that other stuff, but there's like a lot of mess there too. So here's what I feel like would be very beneficial for you. Really and truly. Work on the self-concept stuff, because at the core of everything, you can manifest whatever, but you'll let it fall through your fingertips if at the core you don't feel like you're valuable and worthy of deserving to be there or have that thing. So it's like, work on the inner dialogue, and the minute you catch yourself saying anything kind of negative, whatever, you're like, oh, like, I'm really insecure about my dyslexia, like, or it's kind of my superpower in a way, because it helps me, like, it disarms other people when I'm not perfect. People relax more, they gravitate towards me more, they relate to me more. I mean, think about it. It's like how hard it is to relate to somebody when all they do is appear perfect. Like, you just feel nothing but like, oh my God, they're going to see what an idiot I am. But like, the minute you have somebody who's like kind of a mess, you're like, that's my people, because like, I know that they're not going to be judging me, on not, it's not going to matter if I like, I'm a little klutzy or whatever. And in a job situation, as long as you're like excited and motivated to work, and then you just have to think like, okay, if I am dyslexic, maybe, I don't know, be open about that. Like, maybe not like in the interview. I don't know. I don't know how to do that. So what other questions do you have? Because I think that was all very valuable information for anybody else too. And then while I'm waiting for yours, Jeep, what's your question? Because I know it's really late there. They are a little bit hard to find. And I wish, like, I mean, it became exhausting for us, but ask your primary care doctor to help you, and they might be able to just kind of put you in the right direction. And then it might also be covered within your insurance. Um, with my daughters, I ended up just paying out of pocket for their like evaluations, because we were kind of in crisis mode with my oldest one. And I just like didn't, and it was like a year-long wait if we went through our insurance. And I just felt like, and same thing with my middle daughter. Now we're not in crisis mode with her, but like, I don't want to wait a year for her to get in, even to just start the evaluation process. And it takes, a little while to finish all the testing, and then for them to like put it all together in a report and then deal with the school district and all of that. So ask your primary doctor and say, I have concerns about, like, I think I'm ADHD. I think I might also have dyslexia. How do I go about getting evaluated? Because maybe you need some accommodations at work. And even with dyslexia, there might even be ways to learn to, like, on your own, kind of modify and adjust it or compensate for it, kind of tricks. Um, I have a younger family member who she's pretty severely ADHD and dyslexic. And so she learned, how to things to do in order to work with it, rather than make it be so difficult for her. But she's also, it looks like she's gone into a career that's like not, doesn't, it, she's very creative. And so it's that style of not needing it. Your financial situation of 2025. The end of the end of January into February, it feels dry. So I don't feel like no money coming in or anything like that. I just feel like not feeling luscious and green. It just feels like, um, maybe just making ends meet. It doesn't mean you don't have a savings and you've dipped in everything and totally drained everything. It just feels like just not as lucrative as you like. Again, I still feel like you're able to pay your bills, but they're just making me feel like it's like you'll, in your mind, it'll be a desert, but in reality, it's not. So, like, I always tease my mom because she's like, oh, this idea of lack. And I'm like, Mom, but you said when you started your piano teaching business, you just wanted 10 students and now you have like 30. Like, you're fine. Um, your last salary ends in January. So it'll feel that way too. Then maybe it's this idea of like, it's going to be a desert. Um, I know you have debt to pay, but I almost feel like there's a way to put it on pause, like for a couple of months, payments on pause. It feels like there's some option to do that. So I know I don't have any student loans. I didn't have any. I just worked full time through school when I went to school, which is sort of insanity. And I also did not go to very expensive schools. But my sisters had student loans, and I know one of my sisters was able to put these loans on pause for a while. And I feel like for whatever reason, you can pause it. Okay, perfect. I feel like you're able to pause it for a little bit, and so then that gives you the cushion that you need. I do feel I do feel like you're working, and it's not that I don't know exactly what this is, but I feel like interesting. March, I feel saturated again. So I literally saw myself like walking in saturated ground. Like maybe that means more than usual. And I feel like okay through the rest of the year. I have to say, there's something where they're talking about there's something small that feels like a bad investment, but it doesn't like so it'd be like if I bought some stock, but I don't feel like you're buying so much that it's oh my God, I've like, totally lost my pants here on this one. I just feel like well, that sucks. It would have been nice if it came to fruition, but it didn't, kind of thing. Like maybe you lose like it feels like $100. I'm sure it's more than that, but it doesn't feel like it feels disappointing, but not life changing, crippling kind of thing. I don't feel like you have no job until the end of March, but there's something about it where maybe the pay is smaller until then, or I don't know. Or maybe it's not as much as you wanted at first and then it's more. I don't know what it is. Because I know before I said, I see you getting a job, I see something coming in, but that's the way it feels to me. It's just like, or maybe you start working in February and it's just there's like a delay in payment. I don't know how that works. I feel like I've worked jobs before where I didn't get a paycheck right away. Like I had to wait a little bit. So then the first paycheck was a lot like, it was all of the payment. I didn't not get paid, but it was like there was a delay in payment for some reason. I don't fully understand it. I feel like the more water I drink, the thirstier I am. And yes, I put a little salt in there, but still. It's only 70% of your old salary. Again, I feel like you will be getting a job. I just don't fully understand. They're not showing me it. Like, I wish that when I got information, it would be so like laid out, like as if I was reading a resume with like bullet points. But it's not. Sometimes it's just pictures and feelings, and then I sort of have to figure out what that means from that. And sometimes they won't tell me. And sometimes when I don't get the information is not because it's because you're not supposed to know, because part of the lesson that you need to learn is that experience, which sort of sucks. I fully understand that and have experienced that. They were interested in you, but what? Who's here? Say hello. They have passed the recruitment. I feel like they're going to have another round. And I don't fully understand that. So it's like this idea that like, oh, we always do hiring this time of the year and this time of the year, and there's going to be like a pop-up that's unexpected. May I help you?
She's being mean to me.
There's not much I can do about it right now. I'm doing readings. I'm sorry, Buggy. I'll come up there and punch her in the nose when I get done. Just kidding. Nope, you're not allowed on camera. I love you so much.
Can I have a hug then?
No, because then you're on camera. Please don't. Thank you so much. I love you. Can you maybe like go to your corners where you each have your own space and kind of keep separate from each other? Why not?
Because Daisy just keeps getting in the living room and then I can't.
Oh.
Because Daisy always just has to stay in the living room, which she tells me to leave for no reason.
Oh.
Because she's doing homework and it's not.
She's doing homework. Yeah, she needs to catch up on her homework.
Why can't we do it in her room?
I don't want her doing it in her room because she gets too easily distracted and she needs redirecting.
But she does. But you're not.
And I know. I'm going to be done soon. But can we not? Nobody needs to hear this conversation. Listen, I love you. I'm sorry you're so frustrated. I'm sorry if she's being curt with you. I don't know. Can I just be done here? Can you? The longer you sit here with me, the longer it takes me here. I love you, Buggy Boo. Get out of here. Yes, go. Turkey. All right. And no, I'm not going to go and punch my daughter. Anybody takes that seriously. It's such a joke. I'm being silly. I'm like the least. I'm like, my kids are like, you never follow through with anything. I'm like, I know. I'll be like, you can't use your iPad for a week. I'm like, yeah, it's fine. Go ahead. Okay. I am not strict. I should be more strict. Okay. I don't know. I said I felt like you would get one before the year's end. For whatever reason, maybe it's like, I don't know. I know it's this year, not next year. I know you don't want to go that long without a job. But I think when I read on this before, this is like where it becomes harder. It's like when people ask you to read on the same thing over and over and over again. So I felt like November, I'm going to stay with that. But next year, you asked about financial. It just feels like it's like kind of dry, but that I don't know why that is. That can be because payment systems are different. I don't fully understand it. Or maybe it's not an ideal job and it's not paying you the amount of money that you want to get paid, but you're getting paid. I don't fully understand it. But that's how I see it. I see it like March next year, you're doing very well. It's just the beginning. It feels like, and it doesn't even feel like all of January. So that's what so maybe there's an expense that comes in and it makes things a little bit tighter, right? Because it's not all of January. It's not all of February. It's like a 3-week period at the end of January and the beginning of February where it feels it's a little bit short. So maybe there's an expense that comes in that you have to pay for, like a car repair. I don't know, whatever. And so then it's like, oh, it's a little bit tighter. And then everything is fine because it's just that period. Okay. It's not both months. It's literally just like that little short period. But the rest of it, I feel fine. Like I feel fine before that. And afterwards, I feel like there's even more money. So I don't know what it is or why it happens that way. Okay. Who's here? Say hello. Does anybody have any general readings they want to do? I won't keep everybody too late because I know it's late in other areas of the world. And also I apparently have to go do mom stuff. And if you found me on Instagram, I changed the time because my marketing person was like, you can't put the little sticker on it. But I like when it looks different because then you know it's a time change. So I have to figure something out to do that, to make that more. Or just fuck it and not follow the rules because who cares, right? It's my shit anyway. I'm learning not to be such a rule follower, but my head goes, they said you have to do it this way. I'm a stickler for rules. Like some stuff. And then I go, oh, that doesn't really matter, I guess. Okay. Is no one going to say anything, or are you going to all be a little, no questions for anybody? Early voting started. I know there's a big early voting center around the corner from my house, and it was so crazy how packed it was. The lines were massive. And yesterday, and then somebody I know went and voted there today and said that she waited an hour and a half. And normally for voting, like it's like in and out. So that's good. Like I like all the early voter turnout. What about the dollar? It stays steady. It's not losing value. I know there's a lot of conspiracy theorists who are like, but it's fine. And in fact, I do feel like the dollar will strengthen once we have President Harris. I think there's actually going to be some surprise flips from red to blue. And I feel like more unity starting next year too. So as much as people are like, oh, all these Trumpers are going to freak out, and it's going to be small skirmishes and small things here and there. It's not going to be anything major. I think they're going to really have to start by the third quarter of 2025, like really start hitting heavy on all of the climate change stuff, because I don't know, that's just what I feel. Okay, I'm going to say goodnight then. If nobody has any other questions and nobody wants to say hello and tell me who's here, such a simple request. Jeez. Y'all have a good week, and I will see you next weekend. If you're not subscribed to my email list, I may be late. I just am not 100% certain yet. I don't have the confirmation for if we have the appointment next weekend or not. So I'll either be here at 4 or I'll be here at 5:30. So I will see you then. Bye.